Hey everyone, Matt here. Let's bring you up to speed with everything going on regarding the stimulus package, the stimulus negotiations, and those infamous stimulus checks that everybody is anxiously awaiting. Here we are late in the day on Friday. It's getting to be a little intense and there is some heat coming out of Washington. It's like one of those really good football games, right? You're in the fourth quarter, tied game, second down, and there's 1 minute and 30 seconds left on the clock. One team is going down, and the other one is going to ride off into the sunset, claiming victory. Well, it's actually not really like that, but kind of a fun analogy, right? But anyway, let's get into it and talk about where we stand with the stimulus package, the stimulus negotiations, and these stimulus checks. So today, Friday, technically the government was supposed to be going into a shutdown by the end of today if they didn't get a deal. Well, we have some updates on that. But hey, really quickly, if you're new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Matt, and if you're returning, welcome back. If you haven't done so already, make sure you take a football player type tackle on the subscribe button. Yeah, tackle that subscribe button. Go ahead and do that. All right, anyway, so actually what's interesting, right before I pushed the record button to make this video right now, like we just got news that Congress has extended another short-term stopgap bill. Geez, I wonder how many of these things they're going to do here in this short amount of time. They did one, they keep pushing this out further and further, but technically, like I said, the government was supposed to go into that lockdown, or not lockdown, but the government shutdown by the end of today if they didn't get something passed or another extension on the government funding. Well, they just passed it. Literally, as I pushed the record button, I saw across my screen, flashing breaking news. They passed it. So the House voted on it and then the Senate. So they have both voted on it and passed it to continue to keep the government funded for 2 days. That's it, 2 days. So they think they can get this thing done in 2 days. So here we are late in the day on Friday. They have the government funded through the end of the day on Sunday. If they don't get it done then, we could potentially be seeing them push it out into next week, or at that point, who knows? Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them if they just hit the road at that point and just left. Even though they vowed to us they would stay and continue to work on this until they get something passed. But apparently they think they only need 2 more days to get this done. So they better start working quickly. But anyway, they will continue working throughout the weekend. That is the plan. So here's the deal. It's actually been a pretty interesting day. There's, again, so many people that are just like pounding the table on these $1,200 stimulus checks. It's actually pretty interesting. But actually today we had Bernie Sanders hit the floor again. He was on the Senate floor calling for these $1,200 stimulus checks. What's actually interesting about it, as he was calling for these $1,200 stimulus checks, as he has been for the last few days now, almost on a daily basis, he's been out making these statements saying, hey, we need $1,200 stimulus checks. We need $2,400 checks for a couple and $500 for dependents. As he's on the floor in the Senate, doing his thing, Chuck Schumer joined by his side and joined right in with that fight. So it's pretty interesting because previously, we had quite a few characters out there calling on $1,200 stimulus checks. But here, this is the first time we've had Chuck Schumer actually join Bernie and, kind of pound the table on these $1,200 stimulus checks. So it's pretty interesting because although we have this short-term stopgap bill to keep the government funded until the end of the day Sunday, so just a couple days from now, realistically, when that comes due again, if they don't get what they want and they try to go out and pass another short-term stopgap bill to continue to keep the government funded, any one of these senators could step up and say, hey, I didn't get my $1,200 stimulus check added into what I wanted, the proposal. Guess what? I'm going to vote against it. And then guess what happens? The government goes into a shutdown. So they need everybody on board with this. So like I said in my video earlier today, senators have incredible leverage right now because they have literally run the clock down so far on these negotiations that they need everybody to come in support of these government spending bill or the government spending if they want to continue extending it out with these short-term stopgap bills. So the deal is these senators can kind of step up and be like, hey, we want $1,200 stimulus checks to be added into the stimulus package. Otherwise, I'm going to vote against the government spending bill or the extension, and then guess what happens? The government goes into that shutdown. So my point is they have incredible leverage right now. It's just like, it's incredible the amount of leverage that they have simply because it's self-inflicted, as in they wasted so much time that their backs are against the wall. And I mean, if you know anything about leverage, it's a pretty nice place to be when you have the upper hand in a negotiation because you kind of get what you want. Even though it's not a win-win typical situation in all situations when you're negotiating, to have the upper hand is incredibly powerful when it's for negotiations, especially like this when it comes to these stimulus checks negotiations. At the same time, Josh Hawley, remember him? I've been talking about him. So basically Josh Hawley and Bernie Sanders, these two guys that have been really calling on the $1,200 stimulus checks pretty much on a daily basis. Josh Hawley was also out today on the floor making statements, asking for support, immediate consideration of his proposal or his bill to add $1,200 stimulus checks. So, pretty interesting. We can probably think and speculate that Chuck Schumer met with Bernie Sanders on the floor to help support these $1,200 stimulus checks as a result of what I talked about in my video this morning. Well, what was that? If you didn't catch my video, feel free to go back and check it out. Give myself a little plug there. I mean, hey, why not? Why not? But anyway, I'll tell you anyway. So basically what that was is yesterday, President Trump was about to send out a formal proposal demanding $1,200 or anywhere between $1,200 and $2,000 stimulus checks. Before he did that, the White House aides stepped in and said, hey, yo, President Trump, you can't do that. You're gonna really derail all of these negotiations. You can't do it. So then he didn't do it. Instead, he just made a statement saying, yeah, the stimulus negotiations are going well. So what's actually interesting about that is because we can probably speculate and think, oh, hey, Chuck Schumer came out of the woodwork and joined Bernie Sanders on this call for $1,200 stimulus checks simply because President Trump is very vocal and open about his support for larger stimulus checks. He's been saying this for many, many months now, as I said in my video this morning. So it's kind of interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a flood of more of other people coming out all of a sudden saying, hey, yeah, I'm standing by Bernie, I'm standing by Josh Hawley, I'm standing by Chuck, and say, hey, we need this. And at that point, they'll almost be forced to add the $1,200 stimulus checks. So again, I just want to make it very clear, no promises at all, but it's kind of the trajectory that this whole thing is going. You know how it goes. Typically, you get one person, you get two, and then all of a sudden you get three, and all of a sudden you get like this cascade, this flood of people that start backing a thing. It's like the herd mentality. I know you've heard of that before. So, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens this weekend as they continue to work and write the language on all of this. So they'll continue to keep the government funded for a couple more days now through Sunday, just 2 days. And they have a lot to work through. There's a lot of issues still in this stimulus package that they need to hash out between the parties. So they have a lot of things to do in 2 days. They are apparently feeling very confident with their abilities to pass something within these 2 days here. So along with that, remember, they have that $1.4 trillion government spending bill that they need to get through and get that all worked up and passed and together so that they can actually attach the stimulus package to it and push it all through as one big package. So pretty interesting. No surprise. I don't think any of us are shocked right now that we're having this conversation that they don't have a deal by the end of today. I feel like a lot of us probably saw this coming because this is kind of their history, right? They have these deadlines, they don't meet the deadlines, and then they continue to extend them out. And with that, I have to say, If only all of us had these rules when going through school. Wouldn't that be the thing? You go to school, your teacher says, "Hey, do you have that paper I assigned?" And you say, "No, I didn't write my paper today." And you just say, "Can I push it out a week?" And then another week goes by and you come back and say, "I didn't do my paper. Can I get another extension of another week?" Teacher says, "Oh yeah, sure, fine, no problem." And you come back, you say, "Hey, I didn't write my paper. Can I get another extension of another 2 days?" I mean, it's just like, you get the point, but my point is, it's like, they need to get something done. Either way. Anyway, I wanted to bring you up to speed with everything going on. I hope you're having a nice Friday. Enjoy your evening. I'll be back in the morning. And of course, as always, I'll be watching this stuff very closely because all of us want to know, what's the answer? Is it 600? Is it 1200? Is it 2000? Or is it 0? We don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. So stay safe. Enjoy your night. I will catch you again in the morning. Thanks, everybody. Oh, by the way, Corey says hi. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.